Hello, this is Philip. Thank you for joining me. So, as some of you already probably know, I live in Santa Clara. What's really interesting about this place is that it's filled with many of the tech companies' headquarters. And just the other day, I went past Apple's headquarters, Apple Park. And I'll be talking to you today about my 2 cents on Apple Park. Recently in the news, Johnny Ive has announced that he'll likely be separating from Apple to build his own independent design company. This in itself is really interesting because Johnny Ive himself held the title of Chief Design Officer at Apple, which many companies don't actually have that title. So as I mentioned, I drove past Apple Park, which is monumental in its construction. It really is a really impressive building. Here we can see Apple Park when viewed from space. As you can see, it's shaped like a large disc where its circumference is 1 mile in length. Apple Park itself opened in April of 2017, where it became the headquarters that replaced their original headquarters, which was based at Infinite Loop, which is also in Cupertino. So to jump right into the actual how it was built aspects, let's first talk about the amount of land that they needed. Apple Park itself is located on a plot of land that is 175 acres in size. To acquire this much land, Apple actually had to purchase the property in secret using multiple companies that would obfuscate the fact that it was Apple that was buying up all of this land. This also meant that the competition didn't then purchase land in the middle of the park, for example, and then force them to have to buy it at a larger price. Another number to help you recognize how much land this is the fact that the total real estate approximately cost $160 million, which is a lot of money when you consider that they're buying this as a single venture, but it's just a small fraction of the expected $3 billion that Apple Park was allocated to cost. It was actually in completion that they determined that the final cost of construction was $6 billion. Another really interesting number is the fact that 12,000 people work on Apple Park. And so they have to deal with the logistics of getting all of those people in and parked up. So one really interesting question is, how does everyone get there? If you imagine you've got to move 12,000 people all into the same space, which is really difficult because normally the roads aren't wide enough, there's not enough place for people to park, and so Apple had to consider this in their design. In fact, Apple Park stands at 4 stories above ground and 3 stories below ground, which means that there's space underground for them to have parking. There's also parking over by the visitor center underground, and I believe that that goes to either 2 or 3 floors deep. And then there's also overflow parking, which they have off-site, which allows people to go from walking distance to the main campus. As with many of the tech companies that are in the Bay Area, they also offer shuttle services, which can move people without cars and also in a more economically friendly way. Another really interesting fact about the construction is that they in fact had to patent a new technology for building glass that could extend from the ground floor all the way up to the top of the 4th floor in the case of Cafe Mac, which has floor-to-ceiling glass doors that can open fully as to expose one entire wall for basically opening the cafe up to nature. Regarding its design, Steve Jobs wanted it to look more like a nature park rather than an office building. And it also incorporates some of the most advanced technologies for energy efficiency and is actually one of the most efficient buildings in the world today. What's also really cool about it is that it's supplied now entirely by renewable energy, so it's also very environmentally friendly in that regard. So some people would question that Steve Jobs was the best technical mind, but what is clear is that he was great at assembling a mastermind team behind his endeavors. And so his design staff, his technical staff, all of these people were top players. And in regards to the design, they knew that when building Apple Park, it would continue to shine as a beacon that attracts top talent. So I really consider Apple Park to be more of a brand asset rather than just a headquarters or an office building, and in fact serves a much greater purpose. So it's rumored that there are concerns with the building, however, the fact that it's symmetrical all the way around. So if you imagine trying to find your particular meeting, you might end up getting lost inside of the building if you can't tell which portion of the sphere, which portion of the circle you're in. Additionally, if you're wanting to get from one side to the other, you're going to have to take a walk through the park, which may not have an ideal route that leads from your existing meeting directly to the next meeting. So more often than not, people will walk around the circumference of the building, which is one of the least efficient routes to get from A to B. If you do get the chance to be in Santa Clara, I really do recommend that you head over to Cupertino and go to the visitor center, which is just off of the side of the Apple building. And what you have in there is a really nice big cafe. There's also one of the biggest Apple stores there, as well as an awesome augmented reality demo where they'll give you a tablet which allows you to look over the entire campus, and it shows you both the instructions and information about the design of the building, as well as an overlay that shows you the wind patterns and some of the other design considerations that they had when they were building. It's really an exceptional demo. I figured it'd be best actually if I take you to see the Apple Park itself. On the way to Cupertino, have you seen something so Silicon Valley as this? So I've just came up from parking, and this is the visitor center as viewed from the elevators as you come out. And you can see here on the left is the cafe, then here is the Apple store, and then on that side over there, let's zoom in, yeah, is the augmented reality demo. This is inside of the cafe that is at the Apple Visitor Center. And you can see they paid a lot of attention to ensuring that their design is really very elegant. And if you've been to America before, you'll also notice that they have some of the most private bathrooms across the whole country.
So what you're gonna do, yeah, feel free to take as many photos as you like.
Sure.
So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna hold this iPad up, okay? And when the screen turns black like that, you can give it a tap. Did you wanna hold on to it, or you wanna? Are you videotaping? Oh, okay. So this is Apple Park right here. Everything you see in this iPad, everything has been finished. And then what you can do actually with your finger is you can even lift up on the roof.
Oh wow.
And you can walk around the whole model if you want to videotape everything. You can actually still, any of the buildings that you see all around, you can actually do the same thing with your finger. You can lift it up.
Oh, great. Actually, get my colleague here.
Simulating the model, augmenting, we're going to tap the screen. Yeah, you can come closer.
That's the solar view right there.
Oh, thank you.
Or that's the, we shape the hills to push the wind in the building.
Wow.
So that all the AC and heating comes from the wind.
Wow. It's amazing.
I'll take one.
So again, thank you for joining me. I want to say if you really enjoyed the content, please hit that like button so that it helps with the YouTube algorithm. Also, make sure to subscribe so that I can keep making these videos. And of course, the bell button, if you tap that, that'll notify you whenever I come out with a new video. Again, thanks for watching, and I've really enjoyed talking to you about Apple Park. See you again soon.